In this video podcast, we had a great conversation with my Emperor Guild Leader 718. An OG to the Maple game, from PC to mobile, Twitch streaming. We kind of talk about everything, right? Throwing it back to when he first started Maple, what kind of got him into it, and then everything in between, how he got into mobile, now created the guild, kind of created one of the most respected guilds in the game, to be honest. He does it the right way. He created a great environment for people like me to be welcomed in when I first started. There's a reason why we were able to stick around for such a long time. He talks about that, how he started recruiting, how he just does things the right way, to be honest. And that's why, people don't leave our guild. People want to join our guild. People don't even quit, right? And even if they do quit, they stick around in the Discord. They're always like chatting it up. He's really built a great environment, community, a real family. And he's it was a great conversation with him. We haven't really had one of these one-on-one talks. We kind of just talk over Discord with everyone else. So I really had a great time talking to him. I appreciate him. I hope you guys enjoy this. If you guys want me, have any thoughts on who I want to bring in for, 1,000 followers, whenever that comes, let me comment below. I appreciate all the support, and I want to have someone that you guys really want to get to know better, have these deep conversations with, just to get them on a more personal level. A lot of great people in the community. So definitely comment below who you want me to talk to when that time comes, and I'll try to get them. So enjoy. And here's the conversation with 718. Hey guys, back with another Echoing Thoughts podcast here, episode number 30. And this podcast, we got Emperor Guild Leader, the OG, probably one of the OG Maplers that's playing since way back PC. I think of Maple, I think of him. An OG, retired Maplestory mobile streamer, Twitch streamer. We got 718 here. Thanks for being here.
Hey, it's my pleasure, man. How you doing?
Good. First of all, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll kind of just jump into it. First, I wanted to kind of get the origin. I like to ask people the origin of their name. Yours is 718, obviously, with a meaning. I kind of just wanted to hear the story behind it. Was it something that you did as a kid? Was it something that you did more recently for Maple? What kind of was the attraction? A lot of people can do their birthdays. A lot of people, but I feel like yours it looks sick. Like the 718. I think mine's just wouldn't look as appealing. So just wanted to hear your story and about the name.
Yeah, of course. So it's funny you mentioned that it looks sick. So it started back when I was younger. I used to compete in motocross, and usually everyone has a 3-digit number, and more or less they all use their birthdays. So whenever the announcer calls you in, or would call me in when I was racing, they would say 718 instead of saying 718. So I liked the sound of it, the play on words. So I just started using it like as a handle as I got older. I didn't use it when I was younger. I started using it basically around the MSM days, because I couldn't. It's getting harder and harder to find good handles that are available. So the 718 ended up sticking. And it's funny because I used to bully people for using numbers and birthdays on their usernames, and my username ended up turning into a full-on number itself.
Yeah. That's you now. I know we were joking about it. We joke about it all the time how now everything is just 718. Just every time you see it, it's iconic. It's like you just first thing you do is think of you. People screenshot it, send it to us in the Discord chat.
I love this little brainwashing thing I have going on indirectly with people.
Yeah, even past our Maple days forever, it's just going to be,
Hey, yeah. In the future, you're definitely going to remember those numbers, good or bad.
Yeah, that's how you know you got a good handle. You made the right choice. Yeah, but kind of going back to PC Maple days, right? Anniversary is coming up next week for Maplestory Mobile, but I wanted to talk to you about kind of throwing it back even further, right? PC Everyone's kind of had their own story about how they got into Maple. And you're probably you're one of the first one, you played since the beginning, right? I was thinking back, kind of going memory lane this week, thinking about what to talk about on this pod. And I was just, trying to think about it. I was looking it up. 2006, I think, was when the release date was for PC. And that was, I think I was between sixth and seventh grade. And I was just trying to remember my fondest memories of just the game as a kid growing up. But I want to hear yours because you bleed. I feel like you bleed Maple. You're like one of those people that like.
I actually have a tattoo with a maple leaf.
Yeah.
On my back to pay homage because it was a big part of my life. All the people that I met throughout that shaped me to who I am now. It's not because like I love Maplestory. It's more the meaning and the people that I met. That's why it's just like a maple leaf and not the little copy pasted leaf. But I shout out to my tattoo artist that she changed my mind and made like a realistic tattoo instead of literally the maple leaf from the logo, which was my original idea. I would have regretted it, honestly.
Yeah. That's what I got on my like echoing thoughts logo thing a little bit. I just threw on a little maple leaf that I found on Google. But so when did you get that tattoo? Was that like from PC Maple? Did you get that friends from PC or was that mainly mobile?
No, mainly mobile. I mean, I thought back on my PC days. I only keep tabs with one friend I made over the years. But since Maple as a whole has been a really huge part in my life, it's both, PC and mobile. One of the reasons why I got it, but mainly mobile because that's where I made my real friends that I can call family.
Yeah. Do you remember your first memory of Maple back when you first started?
I was trying to think back on how I found Maple. So I originally played RuneScape. That was the main MMO that I used to play. And then we moved towns after I had a motocross accident. I broke my arm. So I had to stay out of school, get homeschooled. So we changed to a different town. And when we did, I was inside a lot. So I had this little laptop. And I think through like an advertisement, like Nexon was really good with ads. That's how I ended up finding Maplestory on the computer. It's not like I searched for it. It just appeared and it really caught my attention. And then my friends caught on and we all started playing together. It was roughly at the end of 9th grade or 8th grade. Like the end, it was intermediate school. So there's middle school and intermediate, which is like 7th and 8th grade. So that's when I started. It was around 2006, 2007. So I didn't play the beta. I can't say I'm as veteran as I would like to be. I did not play the beta like Michelle did, but I started pretty early.
Do you remember what class you played and like how far you got?
Of course. But before that, I got the first memory I remember of Maple, though, is rolling the goddamn dice to get good stats to make my character. I don't know why, because I didn't know what stats I wanted, but I remember spending like 40 minutes rolling those dice to get something that looked good.
Yeah.
And then just landing on that spawn island, looking at everyone with a little club, killing snails, doing my quest for that beach chair before I could land in Lith Harbor.
Yeah.
My first class was Thief, obviously.
Yeah.
I went Assassin. I played in Barra is where I started.
Yeah.
In the Barra server.
Damn. Dude, I totally forgot about that dice rolling stuff, but that was like a huge... I remember like every time we made a new character, that was like, if you didn't have 4/4 of the off stats, you were kind of just like so behind.
That's where the min-max began. Rolling those dice.
Yeah.
And nowadays you can get stats elsewhere. You definitely don't got to spend time rolling those dice.
Yeah. Oh man. I remember like I would change characters. Back then grinding was impossible, like I would change characters all the time. I'd see like someone that was really good and I want to play that. And like you'd see someone like a thief, an assassin just with like a different throwing star. I was like, oh, you have to be like assassin.
I always leaned around thieves, but I did play a lot of classes. I played hero. I played Bug, Ice and Lightning Mage, Paladin. I played a lot of classes, but Thief is the one that stuck.
Yeah.
One of my problems, though, which I actually ran into it in MSM, is I liked making new accounts.
Yeah.
But on PC Maple, I liked going to new servers. So whenever a new server released, I would start over. So for example, when Yolande released in 2008, I made a character there. And then when Galicia released in 2009, I made a character there. And then I quit for a little bit. And then I joined this forum because all the people that wanted to join the next server, which was El Nido in 2010. So everyone like made a community, you know, making pre-guilds and stuff where they were going to grind before the server release. And that seemed super cool. And that's when I hopped on El Nido in 2010. I thought that was like the funnest thing. I wish we had that here where you could just start from scratch, but that extreme, but we don't have it.
Yeah, that was a different time, man. I feel like back then Maple was like kind of like I was thinking of like World of Warcraft and Maple kind of came on at the same time, and those are kind of ahead of their times. I guess RuneScape too. But man, like I remember just being so like loving the graphics, loving like just the login screen where the music came in with like
iconic for all those staple games. I could just leave the login screen playing and just enjoy it, to be honest.
Yeah. It's funny just like how that brings you back like still to this day. What did you ever make it to like third job and stuff?
I made it to third job, yes. So I was able to make it to third job before I started server hopping in Barra. I remember how painful it was to actually get to a level 70.
Yeah.
And then how people scare you to potentially failing your third job. I mean, they weren't scaring you. It was real. If you couldn't pass those questions, it was so hard to get those black crystals to try and get the questions right. So I remember always searching online, basically studying for the potential questions you could get answered. Because if you get it wrong, it gets back to grinding for the crystals, which I don't remember how you got the crystals. I just remember they were really hard to get.
Yeah.
And then when I passed, I remember I needed summoning stones to use my shadow partner. So I couldn't even use my shadow partner because I couldn't craft the stones. It was such a like grind just to play that class.
Yeah. That was like the best class, but like you just I remember realizing at third job you had to get all those summoning stones and then
the throwing stars, recharging them. It was fun, but imagine doing that now, having to go back to recharging town stars just to attack. It was fun, but I don't know if I would do it again.
Didn't you need to get like summoning like the books too? You had to have those drop for just skills.
Yeah. That was for the I think third or fourth job.
Job.
I do miss that. That was fun, hunting bosses for your skills. I don't miss it again, but I'm glad I lived through it. It was fun. You know, fighting Horntail for 3.5 hours, hoping your game wouldn't crash to then get a book that you might be able to use to then see if you pass it. As always, classic Nexon.
You would fight for loot too, right? Like you would have to.
Yeah. The loot was for everyone to loot. I think there was like a split second. Whoever like got the most DPS was able to loot first, but more often than not, everyone it was a free for all. So
yeah,
you had to run with the group. That would be, respectable and not take all the loot.
What was like your fondest memory of PC Maple? Like
one is not my fondest, but one of the things that I thought was super cool. I remember the Sleepywood forum. I looked at all the Zachem service groups selling Z-Runs to be able to get a Zachem helmet. I was ended up being recruited because I ended up re-rolling to a Chief Bandit. So as soon as I got Meso Explosion, it would give me Mesos for me to drop to Zac so I can explode them through the body phases. So that way, because of my class, I was able to get a free Z-Helm without having to pay. I don't know how much they were charging back then.
Yeah. I remember that was like a huge thing. Just getting that Zachem helmet. Like when you saw that around, that was like,
it was elite status.
Yeah, it was. You were.
I still appreciate it when I see it MSM, but it's not the same thing. But I still pay homage to it. When
mobile first came out, I feel like the Zachem helmet was sick.
Yeah, especially because the chaos didn't exist, so that fancy background wasn't a thing. I mean, I appreciate it now, but I still like the OG helm. Yeah, just something about that look.
Yeah. Oh man, have you played PC? When was the last time you played it? Did you play Reboot recently?
I played Reboot, but I just dabbled for a couple hours a couple of years ago, like 1 or 2 years ago, just because I wanted to try Kane. to prep ahead of time to see if it's a class that I would like. And I was very curious about kinesis as well, because it looked like a cool class with the telekinesis and all that.
Yeah.
But that's as far as I went. I played a couple hours, like I said, and that's it.
Yeah,
I was able to stick to it.
I remember
it's not a drug I wanted to stay with.
Yeah.
I feel like I could get back to it, but I don't want to.
Yeah. I remember I think in Alpine Elementary, I didn't really get to play at my house. I always had to go play at my grandparents' house, and my cousin played. He was the first one to introduce me, and then my auntie ended up playing. So they would play.
Really? That's cool.
Dude, she's not
family.
So it doesn't matter. But she got married like in the game.
Yeah.
I'm just like feed her everything. Like she had the fashion, she had like the style, she had everything.
Fashion Story, man. I went broke for Fashion Story. I remember saving my lunch money all week, and on Friday nights I would stay over at my friend's house, and his mom would drive us to Target that morning after, and we would just buy as many cards as we can. We would have to hide them from his mom and just say like, we bought $10 or $20, and the other like $60 were like on the down low. And then I would just run to NLC when it was released to get those premium hairstyles. So I can get that Goku hair or the Dreamcatcher hair.
Yeah.
I spend way too much money on RNG just for fashion.
Some things just don't change, huh? It's 15, 17 years.
Hey, man, I'm still waiting I'm saving up right now for that Lightning Tiger. It doesn't change.
Yeah.
I like being strong, but I need that fashion.
Never dies. Yeah. My auntie would play. She would kind of like feed us NX cards and stuff, and like we would buy some, and just like, it was. I think what I loved about it was just like, it wasn't so available to me. So like when I could play, I would just like stay up all night.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it more. And then like when I went off to college, I went off to like be able to get my own computer and stuff. I would play a little bit just for like the nostalgia and just for like being able to see what it was like. But I don't think I ever was able to, just never at the time.
It was actually the opposite for me. I was able to enjoy it fully for like a couple of years. Cause so like after I started high school, I did my first year in high school, and then my little brother was born. And my family has always had plans to move back to Uruguay, buy a house, a business. So we sat down as a family. They're like, listen, do you want to, drop out of school and take care of your brother while we settle things so we can move back to Uruguay? And I mean, as a young kid, your parents telling you, do you want to drop out of school? I'm like, yes, I do. So, I dropped out of school on my first year of high school, took care of my brother for like 4 or 5 years. And then my parents ended up telling me, we're not going to move. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So, I studied, got my GED and all that. But throughout the course of those years where I was taking care of my brother, I was able to play Maple fully. I had like 2 laptops, my PC. I would just train at nudies nonstop, throwing stars.
Oh, wow. That was I didn't even get that far because I didn't play that much, right? So I had my memories was all like, I would see my auntie train there. She was Ice Lightning Mage, so she would just train there nonstop.
Yeah, because you could freeze them. That was where I peaked. So there was this 2 times event weekend, and I was able to get my hands on a lot of NX. So I bought the coupons to stack on that. So I did a 37-hour session, which I ended up passing out. I just saw like black and white stars, and I knocked out for 12 hours. I'm like, I'm never doing this ever again. Only bathroom breaks and ham and cheese sandwiches. I'm like, never again.
Yeah.
Am I doing this?
Yeah. I was a big PQ guy. You did PQs a lot?
I did it not for the love of it. I mean, it was fun back then, and I appreciate it. But I did it just to try and level as soon as possible or as efficient as possible. Yeah.
I was always in like that level range, and so I was like huge on like Kerning PQ and like Ludi PQ. I even like Carnival PQ. I think it was called Carnival Monster Park.
Yeah, it was Carnival. It's funny you mentioned that. That's the one I liked the least. My favorite one was Orbis. So whenever I try to make a new character, I try to make my way to Orbis level as soon as possible because I was what you call back then a smuggler. So you would run fast Orbis PQs, and if you unhooked your Ethernet cable from your modem at a certain time and clicked, you can smuggle clouds or the music notes out. So you could then rerun the PQ again faster for more EXP. So I'd be the one in charge of, I don't know how I found out about it. I don't know how kids found out unplugging their modems to be
Yeah.
able to smuggle stuff out of a PQ.
Yeah.
And I also had a really good finger for clicking in to get back in. I love doing that in channel 1. It was like a flex, being able to get in while that channel was packed and just rerun it. Or selling tracks of people that were inside. So it'd be like selling track, joining PQ.
Flash find.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that Orbis smuggling thing. I know what you're talking about because I'm pretty sure. I've definitely heard about that. But I was more of like, when I first thought about it, Kearney PQ, just slash finding, and you see them like run up into the sewers and you're like, here they are. And then like, and then once you see them disappear, or like if you're the one that like just kept like
well, the thing about Kearney PQ is usually people with higher levels would come in with summoning bags and kill you with robots, in Kearney specifically.
Yeah.
I like Kearney too, running the fast PQs when everyone knew what to do. That was fun. But the legendary one is Ludi PQ with the boxes.
Yeah.
With the codes 111, 222, 312. I don't know again how we did it back then. Yeah. And there's no way people would do that nowadays. I can't imagine queuing into a dungeon and be like, okay, guys, 5 of you get in the boxes in that numerical order and let's get to it. Yeah. There's no way.
I remember like that was like a huge thing. Like people didn't like know what it was like immediately. Like, cause there was like barely any communication. I feel like at certain points, it was just like everyone,
especially for that, because people would just mold.
Yeah. And it's like, that was just like it was, I just remember it's like people like throwing up they're like looking for PQ and they have like the @ signs. They just spam that just to make their message bigger and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like in trade server.
That's when I first caught a wind of it going into the free market channel 1. Yeah. The whole map was just flooded with @ signs so people could read their symbols. Yeah. I just spend a lot of time in the free market. I like to just browse, starting at the top with like Eldnath ones all the way down to Hennessy's where all the premium spots were, just to like try and buy and resell. I never made a lot, but free time was available back then. I can't believe I spent so much time there, or like traveling in the ships, like 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back. Yeah. If you die by the bull rock, you got to start over. Yeah. That's legendary. I wouldn't do it again. I can't sit there and just watch my screen for 15 minutes, but I loved experiencing that for sure.
Yeah. There's so many like things like just thinking about back, like, traveling to Orbis, because like trying to peek out just to see the Balrogs and see like, or if you see like a high level player on the ship, you're just like, oh, are they gonna try and solo it? Are they gonna like, can they do it? And then you just peek out and like,
or get Jabata's like, come on outside, he's already dead, and he's just flying right there on the door. I got Jabata once. I think I almost quit as a kid. So I got Jabata into taking the Orbis ship to go to Orbis and go down Orbis Tower, and they said use the town scroll at a certain spot. So I got sent to Elnath as like a level like 22 or something. Yeah. So everything was one-shotting me, and I was sliding on the snow with no shoes.
No shoes.
So I couldn't get out of Elnath, and I couldn't climb the tower. Yeah. And I didn't have my dark side back then, so it took me like a day and a half to try and jump quest my way out of Elnath through the sliding snow, penguins and everything to try and climb back in the Orbis Tower. It was brutal.
Yeah, those penguins are fast too. I feel like they're just like, I feel like everyone has a story. That's the worst. Just getting stuck in the wrong place and just not being able to get back.
Or the magic attack in the Ludi Towers. I forgot what it was, but in Omega sector. But that time I learned my lesson. Oh, I had dark sight, but dark sight didn't protect against magic attacks. But it was more manageable to escape. It's scary back then. That stuff scared you. Like, at least scared me as a kid. I'm like, I can't get out. Yeah. I want to play, but I can't get out.
Precious EXP, just like, oh, that's a tilter.
That's another thing. Minus 15% every time you died.
Yeah. That was hours. That was days of EXP. But I want to get into fashion, right? Fashion was like, dude, some of the iconic PC weapons, armors. Why don't you just quickly rank weapons that I could think of? You had the Red Whip, you had the inner tubes, Korean fan, you had snowboards,
frozen tuna,
and then the sky skis. What was how would you rank those?
So my list was tippy top frozen tuna. It was something I was never able to get my hands on because only like the true resellers that made guap in the game were able to rock that. Yeah. Second up, it would be the sky skis. I just saw all the dope Dark Knights attacking with sky skis, just rocking them. It just looks super sick. Yeah. On third, I would say the K fan. As a bandit, as a Shadow Remain, the KFN was just classic. Getting at like level 35 or so, being able to rock it with Savage Blow, it was like the perfect combination.
Yeah.
Fourth, I would say the Red Whip. I mean, it just looks sick, and you moved super fast. There's no complaints. After that, Snowboard. I mean, I love skateboarding, snowboarding, so it looked cool how you held it. Last one was Inner Tube. Yeah, I couldn't care less about Inner Tubes, honestly. They look cool because they're kind of hard to get sometimes, but I just had to throw it in there as the last.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. I just remember, like, just when we had when did Frozen Tuna come out? What was that for? Was that for Moonfrag, or was that just a random event for people?
Oh, yeah. I was able to finally achieve my childhood dreams of having a Frozen Tuna as a 30-year-old adult with a Pixel event like 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah, that was a Pixel event.
I went as far as ambling my whole set so I can have a Sana Robe and a Frozen Tuna.
Yeah, and the bamboo
could die at peace.
Yeah,
I didn't go as far as the bamboo hat, but I did wear it just to see. But
and you got the mount too, right?
Yeah, the Frozen Tuna mount, just OD.
Yeah, they just knew their audience right there, and you were just right up your alley.
Yeah, man.
And then, do you have a top 3 most iconic armor fashions that kind of come to mind for PC?
Just like off the bat without thinking too hard, Sonarobe, super iconic to me. Ilbies, when I saw the first Ilbies being thrown, they looked absolutely sick. I'm like, what are those?
Yeah.
And then a Z-Helm. Z-Helm is too classic. I didn't want to put it in there because now I don't appreciate it as much in MSM, but back then Z-Helm, man, the best of the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking of Ilbies too. Ilbies and Steelies, and then eventually just got
Steelies too. I wanted to say Balanced Furies, but that was kind of niche. You had to buy the TCG stuff for the codes, but Ilbies were more impactful.
I remember they were so big.
Yeah.
I mean, you would always see like lower level decks lists with like the bamboo hat, the Sana Robe, and Ilbies. You're like, oh wow, that's
man. I remember training at Straw Hat Dummies, and someone would try to KS me, and they couldn't beat me, and they're like, "I'll be right back," and then they would come in with their decks list sin, just throwing Ilbies. I'm like, I saw the Maple Claw, the Sauna, and the Ilbies. I'm like, you can have the map, bro. I can't win.
Yeah, the work gloves, and you're just like, yeah. And it's funny because the assassins didn't even have a mobbing skill, and they're just still like wiping everyone out,
because their range.
Yeah,
they would kill them before you can get to it.
Yeah, they could hit them. Yeah, they were just like, oh man, the good old days, the childhood.
I tried everything for Thieves. I went Dexless, low Dex, 50-50, full Dex, but Dex was one of the funnest. I liked an in between because I could rock like a Pilfer. That was going to be one of my iconic pieces, but I feel like Z-Helm is more iconic compared to a Black Pilfer, but it's still notable mention. Yeah,
the Pilfers for sure. But if I was thinking of this kind of as the last question to wrap up, talking about PC Maple, like World of Warcraft had Classic, they brought back Classic a couple years ago. If Maple did some sort of version of bringing back Classic, OG pre Big Bang Maple, would you think you would play?
Take my money. Yes. I don't know if I would play it seriously, but I would definitely make a character. Like I said, I love playing new servers, so that would be my first and only chance at playing from scratch again and just enjoying the grind. But if MSM comes out with that PC client and then in the future should drag everyone back in, they're like, reboot Maple, old school pre-Big Bang, I would definitely make a character.
Yeah.
You have to grind with no auto battle. I don't know, but I would definitely like to play it and do the grind.
Yeah, for sure. I think we got to make that happen somehow. One year, just
it's the race in the hole.
Yeah.
If everything goes to hell, they'll release a reboot something mobile to try and squeeze some more juice out of us. We're gonna be left like prunes. Would you play it?
Yeah. I mean, I just it'd have to like I'd be able to play with everybody and just be able to play back a little bit.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
vibe.
PC. I didn't play with too many people. I feel like, or two of my cousin be there and my auntie. They were kind of tier above because they played so much more. So like,
Yeah.
if I were to play PC with the gang. Like,
yeah, I'll be honest. I also pretty much soloed that game. I mean, I had two in real life friends that played with me. One not so seriously, the other one very seriously.
Yeah.
But it was pretty solo. That's why I never like super progressed when I was a kid. I was just playing, running around, grinding when I thought I could grind, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That would be like doing PQs or kind of leveling and grinding out and leveling back with the gang. That'd be fun. That'd be fun for sure.
Fun. I'm just happy I was able to reach before we ended. Just glad I was able to get to 200 because I ended up quitting. I came back in like 2012. I made a low 200 before they raised the cap. I could quit in peace. I perfectly scroll my dagger. That's it. The two things I wanted to do before ending it.
Yeah. All right. We'll take a break and then we'll get back into kind of talk about mobile a little bit.
Sounds good.
All right, we're back and want to talk about PC or back to mobile. Kind of want to talk to you about, you briefly touched on it. Mobile. Did you start playing right when the game came out?
No. So for MSM, there was also a beta. I did not play the beta. I found out about the game a little bit after. So I started playing the game a month after its official release.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I don't even know what the beta was. I remember Dave, our friend Dave, we were playing basketball one day, and I think I just seen him playing, or we just mentioned it because we played World of Warcraft together, and he was like, he's like, yeah, I had my phone right here, and we busted it out, and we're so excited. We're throwing it back and talking about it, and so that's how we kind of got into the game. My first memory. But did you play? Was Shadowers wasn't out then, right?
It wasn't. So how my story started was actually back to PC Maple. I met a friend from PC Maple. I traveled to California for my first time. I met an old friend that I made through Maple. And after I got back, for some reason, I was bombarded with advertisements on my Facebook about Maplestory Mobile.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? It looks exactly that of the Maple that I remember, but there was like mobile buttons on the pictures. And I had just found out about Twitch. So I'm like, let me see if someone's streaming the game. And I found out like the category was full. There was like 50 people streaming the game. I'm like,
oh, wow.
Let me get into this. So I made a character and it by default, it brought you to Zenith, which now is the other one.
Yeah.
Enosis. So I made my first character in Zenith. And one of the streamers I was watching was like, you should join my guild in Scania. You should come over. I'm like, fine, I'll make a character in the new server again. So I lost all my, beginner perks and stuff like that instead of making a brand new account.
Yeah.
And the second I joined his guild, 2 days later, him as a guild master and his submaster were like, so we're going to leave to this higher up guild, but we're still going to keep tabs on you, but we're going to leave the guild and we'll be back later. I'm like, can you make me like a submaster so I can help recruit? Like, no, just let us know who you want to add and we can add them. So on that point, I just left. I'm like, there's no way I'm staying in a guild where the guild master and the submaster left to join another guild. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Is that how you started Emperor?
And that's how Emperor became what it was. Yeah. I'm like, let me make my own guild.
What's the origin behind the name?
I'm an anime fan and I like One Piece. Luffy's one of my favorite characters. And one of the ranks in the, One Piece verse is the Yonko, the 4 emperors. So I just wanted to be like, one of the emperors of the sea. But I guess in the Maple world, the equivalent of that, I was okay not being the king of everything. But so long as I was one of the pillars in the server, I was happy with that. As far as significance goes, I don't care if we are or not. But that's where the name came from.
Yeah, I think I remember you mentioning that. And I finally started watching One Piece. I think I'm on episode like 3 or 4.
You got a long way to go. 1,065 more.
Yeah. So that may be a little bit. But what I wanted to know, like, how did you start streaming right when you started playing too then?
I very closely. Yeah. I started watching streamers.
Mm.
So I was watching the streamer that had like no more than 2-3 viewers. I was one of his like, consistent viewers. I would watch his streams for a couple hours a day.
Yeah.
And I kind of like used him as leverage and advertisement to recruit for the guild. So, I befriended the streamer. I made the guild. I'm like, would you like to join my guild? So I started inviting people from his stream that I was making friends with because we were all in the same chat. So I used his stream as a way to recruit members into my guild.
Nice.
And that's how it truly started. And then when he quit streaming shortly after, I'm like, let me give streaming a try. And that's when I started streaming. And the guild was like 100% recruited via the stream.
Via the stream.
So like, if you hung out long enough and I liked you, that's all you needed to join the guild. Like I never went publicly like recruiting Emperor, just through the stream.
Yeah, that was kind of a next question. Like, how did you start getting people? Because I know I know Kevin was through the stream and stuff like that. But is that how like majority of the OGs? Like,
So 100% of the OGs joined through the stream. So people, since I streamed back then, I actually streamed all 7 days of the week, about between 5 to 8 hours every day. It was killer. I would not recommend doing that. But thanks to that, people would come into the stream. Back then it was actually 25 to 35 viewers. So that was like a lot back then.
Yeah.
And so people wanted to join on the good stuff. They would see us, killing Horntail, doing content. They thought it was fun interacting with each other. So they wanted to join. Back then we couldn't afford expanding. So we had 12 slots in the guild. So I was like super strict, a little bit way more strict than I am now. I would like ping people on Discord. If you haven't logged in like 8 hours, you're out. If you miss a day of attendance, you're out. We need space for someone else because we only have like 12 slots,
Damn.
And back then there's no content. So if you're not logging in, there's no room for you.
How the hell did you get Dave to come in? That guy doesn't log in ever.
Hey, I'm flexible with people. They squeeze into my heart a little bit, and I'm flexible with a lot of people.
Oh man, yeah. I remember when I was first recruited, it was when Dave asked if I wanted to join Emperor. It was like a huge thing because you guys were the top shadowers, right? And I was a shadower back then on Peekaboo.
The shadowers podium.
Three amigos.
Great days. Yes, sir.
There's only one remains now, but but it was you guys are like iconic. Yeah, like you said, like you guys are big time. You guys are kind of one of the better guilds, if not the best guild at the time. And what kind of I guess what do you think made, you said how you recruited, what do you think made people stay? Right? I think one of the best things about Emperor to this day is that we have low turnover. Like we've built some sort of culture or some sort of environment where people don't really leave. People don't jump ship. They don't really quit either. And that kind of starts with you, right? So what do you think you've tried to do to kind of
well, my main thing is lead by example and treat others the way you want to be treated. That's what I've always followed. And I think the life hack was the fact that I 100% or 95% recruited everyone that was through the stream. And it's not like, if you watch the stream 15 hours, you get to join Emperor. No, if you interacted with me, I saw the vibe. If I liked you, it was fun or whatever, I thought you would be a good addition to the team. I brought you over, and that's how it slowly started spreading. And after that, it wasn't solely through the stream. Through the people that came from the stream, if they recommended a friend, like they could vouch for, that's how we started growing after. So the foundation was the stream. And then after that was friends. Because, for example, I don't know if you remember Dope. Dope joined because of the stream. Yep. And then Dope brought over Jenny, Shuki, Mandy. I don't know if they came in the same group or a group after that, but all that crowd came because of Dope.
Yeah.
And from then on, it just like a little like bunny effect, one grew after the other from recommendations.
Yeah, I think that's kind of crazy to think, like, how the game, the guilds are starting to kind of merge, right? You've done it, had to do a couple times, right, with lesson 3 and then Night Riders.
Yeah, we've had to accept big groups. The thing is that always since day one, we've always had 50 people. Well, after I expanded to 50, we've always had like 50 people, but it wasn't 50 real players.
Yeah.
Our solid core, we've stayed alive for years just with like 12 to 15 players. Those are the ones that we have to shout out that sometimes ran multiple accounts so we can do for like bringing in their Evans and stuff like that. So we were able to stay alive with like about 15. And then over the years, we've been able to add actual humans into the roster and now reach the point where we have like, 48 real people in the guild.
Yeah. It was there ever a situation where, I know merging was a pretty tough decision for you. I know it's kind of you don't really know how it's gonna, mesh, sometimes it can be, we've seen other guilds kind of have a hard time, right? They'll clicky or they don't really like interact as well as you thought. But I think, our merges obviously have been great, right? From lesson 3 to Night Riders, it's they've kind of, everyone's opened up to each other. What do you think? I guess what do you think makes it like merging challenging and like just I guess like that whole process overall? Like, is there like what's the hardest part about kind of managing?
Well, the hardest part is the fact that I didn't have plans for having those people join. I didn't have a chance to filter them out to see if I would enjoy being around them, responsible for them and their behavior in game. Because, like, believe it or not, like, not that I'm anal, but like what you do reflects the guild. So if you're out smigging stupid stuff, it's gonna reflect back on the guild. So I've always tried to, since the beginning, try to promote good behavior, try to keep drama and toxic behavior to a minimum. If you do it, at least keep it within Discord and don't bring it in game and make such a big fuss about it.
Yeah.
But that's been my way. And earlier on, he said if it's been hard to keep the guild together or moments where you want to merge. Early on, like the first year or so, there was a lot of instances where like bigger guilds wanted to recruit me and they're like, bring in, 5 of your best. I told you we've 10 to 15. So they always me and my because I was always training with like the top like SF120. And I'm like, no, I'm staying with my group. Like, no, you should come on with your friends. No, we coach my team. No one guild members. Yeah. You just won the DPS.
Yeah.
So I always stayed true to the guild.
That's what I was like respect about you, right? It wasn't like, we have some new recruits that weren't from the merge, that weren't always, the best DPS, right? We had some free-to-play players. Kind of talk about that, like what you, like why you, tried to bring in players that weren't necessarily like impacting, Fort, for example, or, like helping, make us compete with the top guilds. But what kind of stood out for these recruits, or like what kind of?
I think it stems back, like I said, treat others the way you want to be treated. Like if I was in their position, I would have loved to have a chance to join a reputable guild or a guild that could help me, elevate my gear and stuff. Yeah. First of all, I'm a sucker for like, re-rolling, re-gearing, starting from scratch. So in my mind, I'm like, it's like not like a project, but I'm like, let's see how fast we can progress this new player because we can run him through content for free and he doesn't have to have any gear. Let's see how high we can get him without him having to suffer for like 8 months of grinding. Right. But mainly it's just giving people a chance. And if they really, it's on the people, honestly. A lot of people show effort to want to grow. And if they do, we reciprocate and we help them out.
Yeah.
If you're not like pulling your weight, at least like being there, active and stuff, you're out.
Yeah.
No free rides. In that sense.
Think about that. Kind of just giving like an opportunity,
and I've always it's not like I've done it purposely, but I've always liked to have a couple of newer players that we can, coach up and guide them.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Just like, and I remember when I guess I was kind of a newer player, right? When Dave kind of recruited me, I was kind of just trying to catch up. I would ask you like questions all the time, right? Like I was so new, and it was just so like, but I appreciate that.
I was
right?
just hoping you would stay online because you said if you ever randomly log off, it's because your wife found out you were spending.
Yeah, yeah, we might have to edit that out. Just she might be listening. No.
but
Yeah.
you did take a break. Got your life settled in, start making some money,
dude. Yeah, it was
enjoying yourself.
It was just a joke. That's not real anymore.
Yeah, it was a joke.
Oh, back in the days when I would have to because I was in Hawaii at that time too, right? Where like bossing time was all like super early, like 3-4 o'clock p.m.
I honestly didn't know you lived there at the time. I knew you were from Hawaii. I just didn't know you lived there at the time.
Dude, it was brutal. Like it was like you would have to go in the bathroom, and like I'd be out like doing whatever, and it's like the worst time. It's like in between lunch and dinner.
Well, it's funny because back in the day, in the first 2 years, we used to call it sexy toilet time. That would be the time where everyone that worked in office buildings or banks or whatever would go to the bathroom stall so we can squeeze expeditions during lunchtime in like those 10 minutes. Yeah. And that was the reason why we were able to squeeze expeditions, because all 10 whatever logged in at the same time.
Yeah.
So we made a meme out of it.
Yeah. That's it. It's still to this day. Still to this day, it's just this.
But honestly, I just can't take all the credit. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for everyone, pulling their weight and helping me out, keeping me in track.
Yeah.
I can't take all the credit.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk to you about it because I think it's like, leading a guild is hard, right? I think like I tried to lead our boss runs, and that's like 10 people, right? It's like, and you're doing 5 times that. And I just wanted to get like your perspective and like how you kind of created such a good
I learned from experience and from my mistake. That's why I always stay away from like making secondary and third groups now, because I already went 3 years of straight managing 3, 4, 5 groups. Before, we used to have a sister guild called Empress, which one of the guildies ended up leaving, had it on his own. He never gave it back. But anyways, we were at a point where like Emperor was full, so we made a sister guild for future recruits. So I was leading the secondary guild for 4, and then Mandy ended up giving me submaster for bartenders. So at one point we were running 3 guilds with 4 and people, expeditions and all that. And then the 4th guild came, which was Cookie, led by Shuki, but that was managed basically by Shuki and Jenny. So at one point we were managing 4 guilds altogether, and that just got out of hand.
Yeah.
And the final boss in this game is consistency and time. Just a lot of players don't have both. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to find. And when you do, it's a really fresh breath of air.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's kind of what I like about our group in EMP. It's like we kind of just have adults, right? Like we all kind of understand like stuff happens. And
of course. But if you communicate and we're all responsible, so we make it work. And I know from far away it does seem unfair, the same people were always running the same content, but this is like years and years of solidifying a process and trial and error. So it's not easy to just like, okay, so one person stopped running, let's bring in this guy that doesn't log in or falls asleep or forgets. Like it's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like one of the things that I now like don't waste my time. Like I feel bad whenever I'm late for bossing and stuff, like with the kids. But yeah,
but it's understandable, especially if you communicate it, which you do.
Yeah.
But I love it when my favorite part is when like someone will be off from work for like 3 days. So they'll be hyper motivated. Like, yeah, I'm free. Let's start bossing. Let's make a second group. Sure. Cool. You can make it those 2 days. What about the other 360? Are you going to be consistent? Yeah. I don't know. I'll let you know. I can't bank on, I don't know. I'll let you know. Because there's 9 other people that I need to manage the, I don't know. I'll let you know.
Oh man. Yeah.
That just brings stress. That's why I always try to keep it as simple as possible. Although it's selfish, it's what keeps me sane now.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I was able to do it.
I can totally.
Now I'm losing hairs.
Yeah, it's I can't even imagine, like you said, like four different teams, and like I can't even imagine. I just thinking of Lotus, like just trying to get a team together and just,
especially because back then you had to pull your weight. You everything had to be on point. You know, nowadays CRA we can do it with your eyes closed, but back then we had an 11th player. Like sometimes they would do the calls for the peer hats, so we could actually successfully do the clears. Like it was different.
Yeah.
Clearing Vellum with like 7 seconds on the clock. Basically what we've lived through with like Lotus.
Yeah.
We used to live through like CRA.
Oh, I
remember when we first started, me and the 2 people that I had as submasters back in the day, it took us like an hour and a half to kill a normal horntail. Like the timer went into like 30 seconds on red because it took us the whole duration. And I loved it back then because that was a little throwback to GMS. I'm like, I can't believe I just sat on my phone for like an hour and a half until the timer went off, but we were able to clear this boss. It was super satisfying. And that's when I found out how important evade stats were. That's when I started pumping evade, how I was able to squeeze more DPS when the tails wouldn't hit me. So I've been an advocate for evade ever since year 1.
Yeah. It always comes back around to that evade for sure to this day. All right. Well, thanks again for stopping by, chatting with me. Had a lot of fun talking PC Maple, mobile Maple, just guild stuff. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me recollect my memories as a kid and now as a young adult.
Yeah, that was going down memory lane for sure.
Hopefully everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was fun memories.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people can relate for sure. That's kind of, PC days somehow, some way. Everyone has a story. But thank you again. Thank you everyone for listening. I'll try to get this on Spotify. I know a lot of people are asking about it. Definitely put it up on YouTube. But thanks again. Thanks to you. Again, happy belated birthday. And
thank you. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Let's get to 1,000.
Oh yeah, we're on our way.
Speedy boy. Have a good one. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Bye.